Hey everybody, how you doing? Thanks for joining me for another Cory Means Business podcast and YouTube channel. Today we got a really special guest. We're going to do a little Zoom action today instead of the studio. Guest today is Gabriel Guiterrez from I'm from Tucson, so I should be able to say Guiterrez. Gabe Spotless window cleaning. He has a window cleaning business, been doing it since 2000, so he's a vet to say the least. Sure, a lot of peaks and valleys and all kinds of wave riding went on in that 21 years now, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So our pleasure to have him on. So we'll be filming it on the Zoom, and we'll be filming it here in my office as well. So we're going to be able to get some pretty cool stuff, I think. So welcome to the show, Gabe. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Been in business 20 years. Got eight employees, I think you said you had, right? Or our team of 8 window washers plus staff. How big is your?
Well, yeah, eight total, including myself. So I have 7 techs that we do. We try to run 3 to 4 crews if we can. Right now at the beginning of the year, we're a little slow, so we're probably just running about 2 crews. And then of course, whenever we have weather like we've had this week, we get a lot of cancellations. So we got to kind of rearrange our schedule a little bit during that time.
Right.
But we also have 5 people in the office staff too, which I definitely don't want them to be missed, because they're just as important to the business as the techs are. They're our voice. They answer the phones. They're the first impression a lot of people have of our business. And they also, some are responsible for social media. Some are responsible for the billing part. I mean, we got a real solid team right now, which I'm pretty happy with.
Awesome. So have you grown this last year, or is that something you've kind of been steady with your staff, or how's it been this last year?
Yeah, we have been very steady. COVID kind of put an interesting change in our growth. I just really started growing about 5 years ago, in 2000. Well, I guess it's 6 years ago now, about 2014, 15, we incorporated. Prior to that, I had just been a sole proprietor. I had worked by myself. Once in a while, I might have someone come and help me on a job, but I pretty much was a one-man crew, and that's the way I wanted it. And then we had our daughter, and it soon became apparent that we were not going to survive off of the income I was working at that time. I either needed to grow the business or get another job somewhere else.
Right.
So we decided to grow the business. And first thing I did was incorporate and just kind of view it seriously as this is a business. It's an asset. I started taking it seriously, started taking some classes, started talking to other window cleaners who were, where I wanted to get to. And man, I mean, lo and behold, if you just give a little attention to your business, it's amazing how it grows. So
that's kind of key,
Isn't that funny how that works?
Yeah, funny how that works, right? Like anything else, you give it some attention and it actually starts doing something. So that's awesome. So then you had been in business a long time, about 15 years then, before you decided to actually make it a business instead of just you doing this as like I guess I'll call it a trade. I mean, it's really a trade. I mean, there's a lot of skill that goes into it.
I mean, it served a purpose. My wife and I, we did a lot of volunteer work. It was just me and her we were married for 14 years before we had our daughter. So,
wow.
I mean, we had a whole different life, back then. And we just had a little studio apartment. So our expenses were low. We loved the freedom that we had. We did some traveling. It was a nice situation for us. But then, like I said, situations change. We had our daughter. There was, some health issues that were involved that we had to cover medical expenses for. And I just kind of realized that our current incarnation of the business wasn't going to cut it if this is how our life was now going to be. So,
right.
But I mean, it was great before. I mean, I was happy, with it. It did fine. It served what we needed, until it didn't. And then that's when you have to make the decision of what you want to do with it. And
right.
Yeah, I've had so many loyal customers. Just the thought of giving them up was really hard. So it was a tough decision, but we stuck it out, and I'm really glad we did, because we're in a good spot right now.
Good. Glad to hear. Yeah, a lot of, when it comes to growing your business and growing a small business, Some people do it out of opportunity. Some people do it because they're chasing the big house and the fancy cars. Some people do it like you did it, which is just necessity to take care of my family, which always is going to come first, obviously. So I don't think it really matters ultimately what the spark is, as long as the spark occurs and as long as, people start taking the business seriously and do what they can with it.
Yeah.
And I've always been one, both personally and also businesses that I coach, which is to say, look, everybody's why is going to be different. My why when I first got into business, was your typical, I wanted the fancy cars and the big houses and the money and all that. And of course, as I've matured over the years, I got into business when I was 29 years old. Business for myself when I was 29. So, when I was 29, 30, I just wanted fancy cars and big houses and, lots of girls and all that stuff. And then obviously as I've gone on in life, priorities change and the reasons, the why changes. Now it's my why at this point is to help others, to give back and to make sure that, I save, hopefully shorten the learning curve for a lot of people. And I'm glad you're helping me do that with coming on the show. Cause I know from looking at your bio too, and you being involved in various groups and associations, that's all part of being that collective where you can help each other and really, have people to lean on and people to lean on you and participate and to give back and all that. So that I know you're kind of probably morphing kind of into that as a purpose as well, beyond now that your family's taken care of and now that you've got that handled, now you probably want to move on to something a little bit bigger than that, it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you had mentioned earlier, the ups and downs of owning a business. I had 15 years of that. We were never. I don't ever give the impression that we were in want, but we were definitely not stable. Because we were always a paycheck away, or a bad week away from being in trouble financially.
Right.
And so, and again, it wasn't that I was doing anything necessarily wrong. There was a lot of things I wasn't doing right. And I just didn't know any better. I never, I didn't go to school for business. I really had never learned how to own a business. I just all of a sudden I had a business and I was doing it. And of course the curve isn't so bad when it's just you and you have a low, low need to make money.
Right.
But I just kind of, as I've matured and as I've grown and as I've tried to educate myself in how to be smarter in running my business, I've just learned there's a lot of things I wish someone would have told me back, 10 years ago that
Sure.
I would have avoided so many problems and
Right.
I dug myself into so many holes that I just didn't know. And so, the group that we're in is called Into the Flow. It's a window cleaning group, but it's definitely geared, like you had mentioned, towards education, philanthropy, safety. And it gives us an opportunity to help some of the newer businesses kind of avoid the mistakes that come with that type of ownership. So
Nice.
I'm really happy to be able to have a role in that. And there's a lot of good group of people doing that. And it just helps smaller, because window cleaners are typically going to be small business. They're going to be either single person owned or maybe 2 or 3 people at the most. That's most of your window cleaners are going to be in that category. But even in that small state, if they can just learn to be efficient and learn to be smart, they can really help their, expand their profit margin, just even being a small business.
Sure. Making money always comes down to 2 core inputs, and this is one of the most difficult things that I coach, which is it's silly because it's so simplistic. The generation of income or the generation of sales, however you want to term it, it's kind of the same thing, is always the same for all of us. It's to do with your skill, the level of your skill set, which is going to be how much you can charge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going to be how often you deploy that skill set. So for you as a window washer, your skill is obviously going to be how the quality of your window washing, how good does it look? Is the customer impressed? Are they, wow, that looks really good. I can't believe the window could look that good. So that goes into your skill set. And I'm sure you've got techniques and the type of equipment, some equipment's superior than others. And that knowledge obviously, is what goes into your skill set. So then as you get your skill set to the peak, which clearly yours is because you've got, all these awards and stuff for being a best window cleaner. So clearly your quality of work is excellent. So you probably came close to your peak on your skill set. Now it comes to the second part of that, which is deploying the skill set. Okay. So I'm sure you probably, or at least I hope you do, maybe not, and I'm wrong for assuming this, that you charge top dollar for your work
Yeah, no,
compared
absolutely.
to your peers, correct? Right.
That was one of the things that I learned is that you have to commoditize you have to add value to your ability to provide services that other window cleaners can't. So like for instance, when I was by myself and I was booked a week or 2 weeks, if someone called up, well, they're waiting 2, maybe 3 weeks till I can get there. And and of course my loyal customers were willing to wait, but the person who calls on the phone and they need it that week, they're going to just go to the next window cleaner. So my ability to have several crews allows me, if someone calls in, I have a better chance of fitting them in last minute
Right.
than someone who's a single guy and they don't have that crew. So that's a commodity. That's a value that I offer, that if someone is in a pinch, they can call me and I can get them in typically. So that's one. The same thing you mentioned about skill, window cleaning is not, it's not rocket science. Anyone can go to a Home Depot, pick up, buy a squeegee, buy a mop, learn how to clean. Now, the technical skill of it is different, understanding where's the water going? Is it going to drip on the carpet of your customer?
Right.
There's 100 different types of screens. Do you know how to take all those screens off when you're there? Then also comes the safety training. All of my techs are OSHA 1910 certified. So when they go there and bring a ladder, that customer can rest assured that my techs are trained in how to use a ladder, or they're trained in how to use a water fed pole properly, which is really where we're geared towards. We're really geared towards the safety aspect of it. We're trying to eliminate as much ladder work, trying to eliminate as much work where our techs are in danger of hurting themselves on the customer's property. Because a lot of customers don't know that if a contractor comes on your property, they injure themselves. If they really wanted, they could sue that homeowner's insurance and try to get coverage of their medical bills.
Wow.
So we offer that peace of mind that my techs are going to show up and they're not going to do anything stupid. They're not going to do anything because they weren't trained in how to properly use the equipment. Plus, we also have safety equipment, right? So anything that requires safety, we have it. And so, and we stay according to OSHA standards. So all of that, that's a commodity. And so as a result, all the training, the fact that we have an office staff, the fact that we, guarantee our work, all of that means that we should charge for that. So what that means is that our market is not all of Tucson. Our market are certain people,
Right.
and so we want people who appreciate the things that we offer.
Sure.
And so that was kind of the hard lesson, because coming from where you're used to starving, you want to take every single job. You just want to go out and grab, oh, someone wants me to come, I'm going to come. If it means I got to give them a 25% discount just to get the customer, I got to get it because I need the work.
Right.
To go from, hey, you know what, we may not work. You're looking for a certain budget right now. That's not going to be real profitable for me. There's really good window cleaners in Tucson that might be better, that you can work with, that are going to be well within your budget. And then I can focus on the individuals who really want those things that I offer, And so that mindset adjustment really helped us as far as growth.
Now, and you're spot on. There's no doubt about it. So is that something that you learned, or did someone teach you that?
Both,
Okay.
I really had two kind of growth spurts. So the first one was right away. So when we incorporated and I started actually paying for advertising, I started trying to grow the business. We grew really fast, like
Right.
really, really fast. So I started, not knowing, I just started hiring. And what I started realizing is after the first year of growth, the business was making way more money, but I personally was not making more money.
Right.
I was working more, but what I was taking home, because I was just paying myself in disbursements, was lower because I didn't have it, because now I had more payroll. I was not efficient. I didn't have systems in place that my techs could follow. I had people driving all over town. The routes weren't really efficient. And it's just all stuff I just didn't know. So right away I cut it off. Like I had bought another truck. I got rid of that truck. So I just had 2 trucks now. I still kept employees, but I kept it smaller instead of growing like I had. Cause I kind of like got scared, like, I mean, why am I doing this? Why am I growing? And I'm not making any, I'm not seeing the benefits of it. So then I shortly after that, I joined the IWCA, which is the International Window Cleaners Association. And they're a great organization, nonprofit. Same thing with like the other group, just really into education, safety, training, teaching. And they had all these classes that I was able to take that really helped me understand where my problems were and where what the bad decisions were. The bad decisions wasn't in wanting to grow. It was in not being smart in the way that I grew.
Of course. And
So
that's, again, one of the fastest killers of companies is growth, right?
yeah,
So
absolutely.
when I go in and I examine companies that are struggling financially, and this is what I get paid to do, the biggest cause is always they tried to grow too fast, or they tried to grow and they didn't have the pieces in places they needed. They didn't
Yeah.
have the understanding that just because you're growing, just because your sales are increasing, does not mean your profit is increasing. And a lot of companies actually will have solid numbers on their top line revenue, but then be getting down to nothing on the profit margin,
Yep.
and sometimes even losing money, and oftentimes losing money. And typically when I go into a business, that's the scenario. The scenario is they have sales, their top line revenue actually looks fairly impressive, but when you get down to the bottom line, there's nothing left. And that has to do with growing without obviously understanding what, how to control your expenses, what you should be spending money on, what you shouldn't be spending money on, where your price point should be. And going back to your previous point concerning the desperation to just get work, especially, and again, this falls right in line with what I'm sure happened to you. So you say you want to grow, you make that decision, you hire some more people thinking that more people equals more money. And
Yep.
that's not true all the time. Can be, but it's not often true. And then you get confused on your price point because now you get a lot of mouths to feed. And now it's like, well, we just need work. We need work. And then of course, the big pitfall that you're not alone, a lot of people fall into, which is we're going to discount and we're going to take all comers just so my guys can stay busy all the time because they got mouths to feed. And again, that's fool's gold. And again, that will crush you out quickly. So I'm glad that, before you got hurt too bad, that you learned that, because that's a big lesson. And I hope everybody watching the show and listening to the podcast really heard that coming from you the right way, which is don't confuse growth with making more money. They're 2 different things. And if you don't grow right, you're going to end up getting hurt.
Well, and I think what I had to learn as well is that there are people who are willing to pay for quality,
Correct.
And I had a certain price that I had as myself that I would make. And that was kind of my price. And so I had to learn that, my customers, even though they're used to paying that, if I give them valid reason to understand why I have to raise my prices, they're okay with that, and I had this one area in particular, it's called Tucson Estates. And that's where I really grew. I pretty much owe my business to them. They single-handedly kept me in business. And to this day, I've got customers that I've had for 20 years that are still in that area. As a little community, I was just starting out. They gave me a chance. They helped, they spread my name. I still have, hundreds of customers just in that little area.
Oh,
So
wow.
they were very loyal to me. And my appreciation for that made me very reluctant to raise their prices, And so I sat down and we were looking at the numbers of the accounts, and all the accounts in Tucson we were raising and keeping at the, the rate that we should. But the Tucson Estates ones were kind of frozen in time, and it was because I had such loyalty to them because of their loyalty to me. So
Right.
what I did was I realized that if I kept doing that, I was just going to hurt myself. So I wrote a letter, and I personally mailed it to everybody, all of my customers in there. And I just explained, you've been customers with me for, 15, sometimes longer years. And I really, really value, what what you've done for me. As I've grown, my expenses have grown. I gave some figures, and I just said, look, your prices are way too low. I can't. Some of you, I'm not making anything. Some of you, my profits, razor thin. Some of you, I'm losing money.
Right.
So this is, and each one individually, this is what your new price is going to be. And I raised it in a period of over 2 years. So the first year was going to be like a 30% discount of my normal price. The next one was going to be like a 15% discount. So in the end, they were still going to have a discounted rate, but it was going to be closer to what my in-town prices were.
Interesting.
And I was really worried because I thought, oh man, I'm going to lose half of my customers because they're used to paying this certain rate. I maybe lost 5 customers out of it. They were all so happy to pay, and they were happy for my success, which again just gave me even more loyalty towards them, because they weren't thinking of me just as a person trying to grab their money. And I tried to express that in the letter, that this is not just a money grab. I'm not just trying to get more money out of people who like me. This is business. I'm trying to make a profit, and this is hurting me keeping your prices at that. And all of them almost to a T. Like I said, maybe 5 or 6 of them left because of the money. They stuck with me, and it just taught me a lesson that they valued the relationship and the service that I've given them all these years. So to them, it was worth paying the extra amount to keep me, to keep the company. And then that means now, okay, well, now we got to follow through on it. We got to, if they're paying more, now we got to make sure that we don't drop in quality for them, so that they're still feeling like they're getting their money's worth, and that that's my response to their loyalty in that. And oh man, it just made such a huge difference. And now it's a very profitable area. We try to schedule everything in that one day.
Right.
But now everybody's happy, and
Right.
I get to stay in the area, and we can still look at
Is the
them.
2 years up? So you're now to full price? No more discount?
No, yeah. Well, we still have, they still get a little bit of discount. I mean, but it's not like what it was. I mean, they were
The
getting
Tucson
like,
space.
they were like paying half of what the in-town people were paying.
Right. Right.
So we've raised them. Now it's about 15%. But I mean, to me, for my 15-year, 20-year customers, that's not a big deal. Any newer customers are going to get the normal pricing in there.
Right. Right.
And that's one thing I mentioned in the letter too, is just so you understand, your pricing is special. Your neighbor who's new is not going to get the same pricing, so don't tell them this is what they're going to get.
Right.
But they all understood, and like I said, so far it's been a great response.
Yeah, and then one of the struggles that I have with coaching businesses is that very thing, which is, you have to raise your prices, you have to charge more. Now you have to earn it. You just can't charge more if your skill set isn't there, if your value isn't there, if you're not bringing top value. Well, then you can't ask for top price.
Exactly.
In order to get top price, you need to bring top value.
Yeah.
But if you are bringing top value, well, then you damn well deserve top price, and never feel sorry for that. So again, if you're bringing the value, always ask for top price, but earn it. Make sure you earn it.
Yeah, and that's what I tell my techs. When the reason why I survived wasn't because of my window cleaning skill. I mean, that took me about 3 years or so to get refined, where I felt like, man, I'm a good window cleaner. I'm probably one of the best in Tucson, where I felt that.
Right.
But it was my customer service. That's what kept me in business. That's why people called me back. They liked me. If there was any problems, I took care of it. People knew that I was a person they could trust. And so when I train my techs, that's the thing. I say, look, we are a customer service company that happens to clean windows. And as long as our customer service is up, our customers are going to be forgiving of any little mistakes here and there. Now, we don't want to make a lot of them, because that will wear thin. But if we make a mistake and we need to and we fix it right away, and we apologize, and we show that the customer, we have value, they have value in up to us more than just what check they, that we cash from them, they're going to call us back. And so we're not just there because we're good window cleaners. We're there because we offer a good service.
Very insightful of you to mention that think of yourself as customer service first, doing a certain job or providing a certain service versus providing a certain service, and we'll just deal with customer service as comes along. One of the things that I teach and preach is what you have to, no matter what business you have, no matter what you do, you always have to have your focus on the experience that your customer is getting.
Yes.
And sure enough, as you said, and I don't know if directly or indirectly, but the amount your customer is willing to pay is directly proportional to the experience they're going to get, right? People pay for experience. When you really think about it, people don't pay for a good or a service. They pay for an experience. They pay for a certain way that it makes them feel. And a lot of times the feeling is based upon trust, like you just said, and confidence in the solution. So when you, as a small business, and big businesses have this figured out already. When you approach your business as providing an experience, then you're always going to be aware of the customer and how the customer's perception is going. And if the customer's perception is negative, then obviously you're going to run into some trouble. So you're always cognizant of the customer's experience. How's my customer experiencing what I'm providing for them? And then that keeps you in it, because a lot of companies, again, obviously your success is attributable to that very thing. It's an afterthought. The customer's experience is an afterthought. Exactly. I'm a mechanic. I'm here to fix this car. I'm going to fix this car, and I'm going to turn the key, and it's going to work because I'm a great mechanic. And whatever tell the customer, here's the keys and here's the bill. Well, you're missing a lot of what you could be developing as far as client relations, return business, repeat business. That all goes away if that experience isn't good. It doesn't matter the car's fixed perfectly, right? It doesn't matter the windows are crystal clear. If the experience overall wasn't good, the customer's not coming back. So it's not always about your service or your good. If the experience of it and getting it and receiving it and paying for it and everything else that goes into that, if that part of the experience isn't good, well, then they're not going to want to come back. So by being focused on the customer's full experience, you're going to pay attention to, how did I introduce myself to the customer? How do we set it up to provide the service? How did the service go? How did the follow-up go? How is billing going? How is scheduling going? How is follow-up on the scheduling going? Confirming appointments. These things are all part of the experience. And I'm sure, as you've already figured out, especially, I know you're super tech savvy with your green screen. There's so much technology, there's so much, IoT, we call it IoT. We had a podcast and a video a couple months back with a good buddy of mine on IoT, Internet of Things, which describes the connectivity, like, especially for follow-up, for instance, with my dentist now, make a dental appointment, they'll give it to me. I get an email with the appointment. It automatically goes into my calendar on my phone. And then 3 days before, I get a text from them saying, hey, your appointment's coming up, click, text back if you need to make changes. And then the morning of, I get another text, hey, your appointment is, was coming up. It's scheduled for 10 o'clock. So it's on my calendar. I got 2 texts. And so now they have, the experience of it is a lot better that way.
Yeah. If I can mention just 2 things real quick, just touching on that exact point. So one is with service, and then one is with the customer experience online, like you mentioned. So the first, like, just as an example, because everything you said is spot on, and that's exactly how I train my techs. You can be the best window cleaner in the world, the fastest, the most quality window cleaner, and just get that glass looking perfect. But if the customer does not trust you in their house, that's irrelevant. They would much rather have an average window cleaner in their home that it takes care of their property. So one instance that I really hit on with my techs is the bedroom. So anytime we enter into the bedroom, and I tell them, I say, you are entering a sanctum, right? There's a public part of the house, and they're used to having people over, and they're used to having, friends and family, the living room, the kitchen, the TV room, whatever. Those are quote unquote public areas. They're used to having people there, but the bedrooms, that's their sanctum.
Right.
So when you go in there, I always tell people, this is our job site, but this is not your job site. We never act as if this is our place. This is always the customer's place. So if we go in there, we get in and we get out. That's not the time to check your texts. That's not the time to change your playlist. Because if a customer walks in and you've got your phone out, what's going through their mind? Are you taking pictures of stuff in the room? Are you telling people about something you saw in the room? what are you doing? You know, that's the first thing the customer's thinking.
Right.
So I tell them,
Casing the
the
joint.
second
Are you taking pictures of what you're coming back for later?
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Are you casing it? What are you doing? That's they're
Right.
wondering.
Sure.
So as if you walk in the bedroom, you do your job and you get out. You should, if the customer walks in, they should see you in action, cleaning, not standing still, not looking around, not taking pictures, not anything like that. So that's one, because again, the customer needs to feel that they trust us. And if we, even whether it's warranted or not, if they have any doubt about that trust, we've lost that customer. They're going to call somebody
Absolutely.
else,
Yeah, trust
you
is
know.
everything. Without it, you've got nothing. Like again, as far as the quality of your service are good, if the trust isn't there, it won't matter.
Yeah.
It absolutely won't
So the
matter.
second thing we do is for our website, we do have it's a program called Responsibid, and it helps them to kind of get their own bid. Now in time, you know, we did it before COVID, but with COVID, it is absolutely awesome because people are worried about people coming over. They don't, you know, if they want to get 5 bids, they don't want 5 different companies coming over to their house. So they can go to our website, they can type in what, you know, we have little descriptions of the different types of windows that are available. And you know, once in a while, people got a really big house and they just can't do it. It's not, and we'll go over and do the estimate. But for the 80% of our clients, they can count their windows, enter in the information, and get a price right then. And so they, you know, they entered it. We get the information. They can tell us whether they want us to call them or not. So we don't, if they don't want us, we don't bother them. You know, and it gives them that experience rather than having to call up and, you know, do this counting like I used to do. You know, I used to do this counting over the phone, or I used to have to make time to go do it. Now the
Right.
customer can get their information, and if they don't want to use us, they don't ever have to talk to us. You know, and so many of my clients tell us we loved that we, before you even got here, we knew what the price was. We knew what services were going to be offered. There's like no question. There's no haggling. There's no, you know, oh, is this included? Is this not? Everything was explicit. Everything's in writing. And then we go and do the service and they're happy. And it's like, it's just as simple as it can be for them, you know? So that was one of the big things that I learned in the classes was just automate as much as you can for them, because if it's easy, they're going to come back, because easy is, you know, it's magic to them. They don't want to be hassled by stuff. They don't want to be hassled by having to provide all this information. And so that was a big change that we made in our business that really helped, was just that automation as much as we can. You know, we obviously want to keep the personal touch, but we want to make it as easy for them as possible to get the information they need to make the decision whether they want to use us or not.
And that's again very, very smart. And that has to do exactly with, you know, the technology that we have. And you know, some of the stuff that used to be cumbersome and really expensive in the past is now fairly cheap and, you know, easy
Mm-hmm.
to use, easy to embed in your website and, you know, and drive traffic to. So that's super, super smart. And then again, I see here looking at your website that you've got you got a YouTube channel too, because you've got at least a YouTube embedded. So you've got a YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, we don't use it for the business so much.
Okay.
The main thing we use for the business is the social media. So Instagram is probably our biggest way in which we promote to customers, or we just kind of get our words out. You know, we use Facebook as well. Facebook is probably more like just ad driven. I don't get as much interaction as I do on Instagram. We get tons of comments and tons of likes. You know, it's probably our best way of touching with customers, you know, keeping in touch with them. And other window cleaners as well. You know, I'm really big on getting to know other window cleaners and learning from them. But Facebook, you know, is decent. Twitter, we really haven't really tapped into Twitter as well as we should. I think that's our kind of our next one. But yeah, and so YouTube is kind of more a staging for stuff that we're going to promote on our social media.
Okay.
Now with the other group, the Into the Flow, that's mainly a Facebook group, and we do use the YouTube quite a bit for our podcasts on that. So that's one avenue that we do use quite a bit.
Okay. Great. And this association that you're a member of, how is it just here local? Is it local or is it national? How big is that?
Yeah, so the IWCA, that is like an industry organization. So that's definitely international. There's people from all over the world who are part of it. It's definitely well known for, if you can get certifications through IWA, that's you're above board on that. You're a professional company. Now the flow that started out as just a Facebook group. It was just one of these groups that window cleaners could come and ask questions on, and how do you guys do this? How do you price this? What do you think of this piece of equipment? But over time, it just really grew into this philanthropic type education, type organization. And I was one of the founding members. I really had no intention to get involved in it, really. I mean, it was a Facebook group. But as time went on, it just really, you started to see that the members were really motivated by helping others. And so, for instance, we've been able to organize several fundraising drives to help window cleaners who have been injured. We had one guy in Cleveland who was a high-rise window cleaner, fell 4 stories,
Wow.
survived, but broke just about every single bone in his body, was unable to work. He had a son who was in school, had a full-time job, and was trying to still keep his father's business going, because after his father fell, he was in the hospital. So we heard about that. We organized, we raised $3,000 to send over to help with hospital bills, and help the son out so that he could pay his tuition. So we sent that out. We had another window cleaner who had to fall off of a ladder. We were able to raise $5,000 to cover his hospital bills. Another window cleaner, they had their truck stolen. Now, just a lot of people they hear, oh, a truck, that's sad. That for a window cleaner, you keep all of your equipment in the truck. Right. So it wasn't just the loss of a truck, it was the loss of their ability to make a living now, because they had zero equipment. Everything was gone. Right. And as soon as they posted in the group, within 24 hours, they had all of their equipment replaced. That was not even us. That was just the group was like, hey, I've got squeegees, I've got poles. Tucker is a brand of water-fed pole. The owner of Tucker is part of the group. His name is Sean Gavin. He replaced all the Tucker equipment that they had, just gave it to him. And then so that meant that, one, they were able to get back into keep their schedule for the rest of that week. And then 2, have the money. They didn't have to choose between buying a new vehicle and paying the rent. They didn't have to get behind on that. Very so nice. I mean, it's just been really neat to be a part of that, that it's amongst people who understand the struggles that small business owners go through. We don't have health insurance. We don't have any type of insurance to help for that type of thing. We're typically barely making it. We're just providing for our family. But this organization is able to kind of help and balance out those wants by, having the people who may have extra to be able to pass on to others. So it's been really cool. It's been neat to see how it's worked out. We've been in existence for a couple of years now, and it's going pretty strong. So it's neat to be a part of that.
Great. Yeah. Once you reach a certain level in business, giving back to the community in any form, is mm-hmm. clearly what's going to ultimately bring you the most success. I'd always made really good money. Well, not always, but when after I got and started what I was doing, after a couple of years, I started making pretty good money, especially for a young guy. And then I started making really great money. And then I started making ridiculous money, but it was always capped. And my focus was always just make more money. And yes, I was cognizant and aware of, things like the customer experience and providing value, but it wasn't my focus. My focus was more on the money. Well, I didn't start making really, 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 really big money until I started making my entire focus be just helping people, period.
Yeah, there you go. Mm-hmm.
As soon as I did that, as soon as my focus was not about making money, it was about helping people, I started making way more money than I'd ever made. Because as you help more people will want to do business with you. You become magnetic. So now it comes back to, now it's not to mean that you're just going to not be active, obviously right. securing customers, but as far as the goodwill in your marketplace, the goodwill overall, karma, I'm a big believer in karma. All those things do play a big role, and you handle yourself differently. And I think really where it comes down to is you handle yourself differently. You talk differently. When there is a problem, like, you have your customers, something goes wrong, you're going to handle it in a different way because your focus is make this right, do the right thing, make this person, happy, makes person trust me still. And so as your mind changes with regards to that as a business owner, I think that's when you really are prepared to have sustainable growth and longevity, super longevity, versus just trying to hustle up the next dollar to pay the bills. And in all my years of coaching businesses, the more successful the business is, that's what I find about the owner. I find the owner has transcended from just trying to make a quick buck to genuinely wanting to help people beyond just even their customers and their employees, helping members of their community selflessly, nothing that's like, oh, I'm doing this so I can, get in and, get some more customers referred to me. That's going to happen naturally if people think highly of you anyway. So, so great to see you're already on that level. Now let's go back to some nuts and bolts, because the audience here is really going to want, more nuts and bolts. So you've got, a 7-man crew, 8 with yourself that you've got to keep, going. Besides, so you said that Instagram is one of your main drivers for leads and for prospecting. How do you use it exactly? What have you found to be like your best tool when it comes to prospecting like that?
Well, I wouldn't say Instagram is my best tool for prospecting. So I use Instagram and pretty much all my social media for branding.
Okay.
So I view just kind of what you mentioned about, if you focus on the things that are important, I focus on relationships. And so for me, like for instance, now with the pandemic, a lot of my clients are older. They haven't seen their family in a while because the family is staying away to protect them. So we show up. We may have been the first in-person contact that they've had in months,
Wow.
or weeks. So I always try to be the one on the inside. One, because I understand the standards, the COVID standards pretty well, and my techs do too. They've all been trained on that. But for me personally, because just for my knowledge, I want to know everything was handled properly. We're going into people's homes who are considered in that danger rate, and there's some that we refuse to go into because maybe they may have some other type of, some going through cancer treatment. They may have some other illness that puts them even more danger, especially anything with the lungs, breathing. We don't go into the house, but those who we do, I really want to make sure that I can impress upon them that I feel for them, and I understand that the hardship that they may be going through just because of the lack of human contact that happens. Our older ones, they're the ones who suffer through a lot of this. And so I view that as my kind of community service, is to be able to go into a person's home and have a human connection with an individual, even if it's not for that, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But that may have been the only human connection that person's had for a while. And I view that as a responsibility, that I'm in that spot, take advantage of it, keep it safe, obviously, keep social distancing. I don't try to stay in the same room as the customer as much as possible. But for the time I do have, try to help on that human level, as opposed to just the work that we're doing,
Well, yeah, I mean, it goes back to the experience, the customer experience. Whereas, for instance, I do business coaching. I go into businesses that are oftentimes struggling, and 50% of the conversation might not have anything to do with their struggling business. Might have to do with something completely different. So that's always something, as as a salesman, and that's kind of your salesman, customer service, customer experience. It's not always going to be about you. It's got to be about them, and so when you make your focus that. So how do you go about prospecting? So how do you get new business?
Just about what you had mentioned earlier, my number one way I find customers is through Google. So if you look us up, Tucson window cleaners, we are the number one ranked window clean organically. And that's because we have 140 more reviews than our next competitor. And I know the next competitor, he's a great window. He's a friend of mine. He does great work. I totally would recommend him, if ever anyone called me. Great guy. I know a lot of the window cleaners in town. But we focus on getting reviews, and we focus on making sure that, one, the customer is satisfied, and then two, that they help to share it. And that right there, I can't tell you how many times we get calls where people will say, hey, I love your reviews. Just tell me when you can fit me in. I know you're going to give me a fair price. Just get me on the schedule. And that's gold, right? I mean, that's gold when and again, that's what we use the social media for. We want people to kind of know the personality of the business before they even hire us. And so if someone's following us on social media, they've kind of already got a feel for what our values are and what's important to us. So by the time, I can't tell you how many times I'll show up and then the customer will be like, oh, Gabe came. Oh, and I'm like, it's, because I'm just Gabe, I'm not like a celebrity or anything, but because they followed me on social media and I'm regularly in their feed, we try to post every single day, at least once or twice.
Right.
I'm a part of their life, even if I may not know them. They're just kind of used to seeing something about Gabe Spotless window cleaning. So when I show up, it's almost like, oh, it's a friend that I haven't seen in a while. Now we get to, to talk and meet in person. And that's my goal with the social media, is to just to make our branding a part of their normal activities.
Well,
And then when we show up,
did someone teach you that, or you just kind of discovered that, or you just intuition told you to do that?
both, intuition definitely, because branding is very natural to me, because basically what you're doing with branding is you're helping people to know your personality. And that's always been a part of my business. Always, I've always rested my success on my personality and my customer service, because I am a caring person. I care about my customers, and that comes across. And then that means that there's a loyalty contact. But one of the things I did discover, like, there's a company that we use called Nice Job, and they're a reputation management company. And so they have kind of the system set up to request these reviews, but they also give you training, and they also teach you, hey, this is what you got to look for. These are the things that are important to customers. And if you can ignore those, but if you take advantage of it and listen to, which is what I did,
Right.
then you start seeing the value in it, and now I'm compounding the value of this system of asking for reviews, because now I'm working along with it, So it was definitely a combination. It was already working in my wheelhouse, so to speak,
Okay.
but then learning how to utilize the tools along with it. It's kind of what just really, I mean, it's been 2 years. We've only had it for 2 years, and we went from 14 Google reviews to 200, and I think it's 54 Google reviews that we have in just 2 years. And that's not even counting Yelp. That's not even counting Facebook. That's not even counting other review sites that Nice Job helps you to get. All my main focus is Google, because that's puts me at the top of the algorithm whenever someone searches window cleaning Tucson, since I have so many more
for the
reviews.
audience, if you guys wanted his discount, it's nicejob.com/Gabe, and you get 20%. I don't know, I'm just making that up. You should
You do get a discount. I forget what the discount is, but
marketing
there's
for
some.
Nice Job.
Yeah.
Get your own discount code and drive people there. But no, very smart to obviously recognize online reputation is huge. And like you said, that little trick, if you want to call it a trick, which is the combination of solid Google reputation management, which is going to get you ranked higher, because Google's going to want to naturally, on an organic basis, as Gabe knows, is going to want to serve up somebody of quality so that you trust Google. Google has a reputation as well. And if Google is serving you up when you search for something like this, if Google serves you up a bunch of crooks or a bunch of, clowns, well, then obviously Google's going to look bad, because that's who recommended. So that's why, as Gabe has found out, and is now where you guys are going to learn, online reputation management is vital, because Google will serve you up organically much quicker when there's keyword searches for you. And so what you're saying then is that's how you're surviving. That's your primary driver for new business, for organic.
Primary. Yeah, absolutely. And then two, you have to kind of keep in mind that it is a tool, right? So you have any type of tool, you can have the best tool in your toolbox. If you don't use it properly, it's worthless, right? So there's a lot, like, I'll give you, for instance, with one thing that we did, and we spent a lot of time still doing, is we Google our name all the time. and we look, where are we appearing? Because there's like a lot of weird sites, you know, like City Search and you know, yellowpages.com that really don't be, I mean, I personally don't use them. But if a customer is searching Gabe Spotless window cleaning, I want to know what they're seeing. And if there's one of these sites and our name, our information is on there, I immediately take control of it. Put our branding on there, put our logo, make sure the proper phone numbers on there, make sure the proper address is on there, website. I put pictures up. If they allow me to post anything, I do. I just totally take advantage of it
Smart.
and use it, because I never know how a customer is going to come across or where they're trying to find information from me. And if they go in and search, you know, Gabe Spotless window clean, and some weird site pops up and it's got like a weird number, or it looks like it's at, that little sign, under construction or whatever, then it just makes me look like I'm not professional, And so
Correct.
I want to make sure wherever anybody finds me, they're going to see my logo, they're going to see my proper phone numbers, correct hours, whatever is on there. I want it all to be consistent.
Yes.
And then that just enhances the professional appearance of our company for people who are trying to search for us.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, again, and that all goes back to, again, the really kind of goes back and folds back to reputation management, because your reputation isn't necessarily always going to be just how many positive Google reviews or what Better Business Bureaus, your A+ on Better Business Bureau. It's also going to be consistency over search engine.
Absolutely.
It's going to be, if I look you up, you dominate the entire first page, and everything in there shows consistent information, same phone number, same website, same general information. That's going to show your potential customer, or even existing customer who might be doing a little bit more due diligence on you. It's going to show them, yes, your level of professionalism, which is going to build the level of trust, which we talked about earlier. Trust is everything. Without trust, it doesn't matter. Anything else is moot if you don't have trust.
And that's why we worked so hard to win the Arizona Daily Star Readers Choice Awards. We really went full force into that. And like I talked to a lot of people, and they were like, we don't do that. It's kind of a popularity contest, and it's just how many people we can vote. It's not really a true standard of whether you're the best or not. But to us, it's like, if we have enough customers who are voting for us and we win, that's a great statement, right? I mean, that's a great statement of that our customers liked us enough. They were willing to go through the hassle of voting and getting us enough votes. I mean, so to me, that's as strong a statement as we can make, that our customers love us if they're willing to be bothered to go and vote.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And help us to win. So, I mean, we've won 3 years in a row. We use that in our marketing. We promote it, and we take it very seriously. We don't view it as this little, thing that's just something that's a popularity or a commercial type of trick. It's something that we view as an advertising tool. We take it seriously every single year. We thank our clients every single year for taking the time to vote. We show them we appreciate, and also we tell them how it's a value to us as a small business.
Well, then plus too, on your website, when people do click through your website, I'm looking at your website right now, you get to put on there the awards, Reader's Choice 2020 winner, 1918 winner, best window cleaner. So right there, if someone now, we walk through the whole process, someone Googled window cleaning Tucson, Arizona, bam, because of his excellent online reputation and positive Google reviews that he's paid attention to, Google's going to serve him up on that first page. They're going to click on your website, which comes up on the first page of Google. Now they come to your website, and now, first page on his homepage, he's got these Reader's Choice 2020, 19, and 18, multiple year winner. That's going to be huge. I got to tell you, I got to, hats off to you. You've definitely maximized organic traffic. He's done every trick there is, every technique. I call it tricks, but really techniques. He's done every techniques there is to really drive organic traffic. And you can get away with it, especially in a small market. You can really, even dominate in a small market with that type of marketing. If you were going to get into any kind of a bigger, now I'm still a firm believer in doing some paid advertising as well and getting paid traffic in addition to the organic stuff. You really should make it a 1-2 punch, but he's definitely made the most of the organic stuff for sure.
That's definitely our next step. When the growth really has the big growth that we're at now really is within this last year. And, we had a really weird season with COVID, because in March and April, like most people, we were super, well, I should say April and May, we were super slow, dead, had to lay off workers, just hardly had anything. But normally our slow season is in the summer, right? Because of the monsoons. We've got the last half of July all the way to the end of September. I mean, we don't have hardly any work. I usually lay people off, or they go work somewhere else and then come back when we get busy. So our busy season is in October through December. We make so much money during that time. But because of COVID, I feel like a lot of people were working from home.
Right.
So our slow period, actually, even though we were slow when we're normally busy in the spring, our slow period that we were expecting never came. We stayed busy through the summer and right into our busy season. So I really haven't had to do any advertising online up until like now. We're at the point now where we are actually looking, and we're going to start doing some paid advertising through Google now. But before then, I mean, we couldn't even keep up with the load, even having four trucks. I mean, we were, so I was like, I'm not going to pay anything now, but now we're at the point where, yeah, absolutely. We want to have that 1-2 punch of paid ads going along with our organic.
Yeah. And again,
status.
you're, being seasonal, being a seasonal supplier, vendor, is definitely, there's a lot of industries that are like that, obviously. And they'll have busy season, slower season, especially if there's weather involved. I mean, we're lucky enough to be here in the desert. We don't really know too much about weather. It rains a few times a year and it's a little inconvenient, but the ground's not frozen solid to where we can't, do anything. But back east in the Eastern United States, there's a lot of companies that really, get hammered when it comes to seasonality of their business, which can come down to there's always a workaround. There's always a way that you can work around, whether it's weather, whether it's seasonal, or whether it's something like, as unforeseen as like a virus that comes around that, people are going to behave differently. The workaround is always going to be combination of organic traffic, having your customers refer you out. Again, word of mouth. This is the 1950s or 60s. We can't survive on word of mouth, but it's still valuable. You still want to pay attention to it.
Absolutely.
Organic traffic like he's doing. And then again, the paid stuff. Now you don't have to spend big money. A small business can spend $400 or $500 a month if it's targeted and done right on social media, primarily Facebook. I'm still loving Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter's okay. LinkedIn's okay. I still think Facebook is the king of it. And if you target properly and if you drive traffic properly, you can really get a lot of bang for your buck. And again, for a small business to really keep their pipeline loaded, $400 or $500 a month will do it if it's done smart. So I'm glad to see you're taking that next step so that you don't have that fall off come this summer, because having to hire and rehire and furlough employees and so forth isn't fun. You like to keep them busy all the time.
Yeah, and my goal is to is what we call in the industry, getting off the glass. I want to be where I can focus, I can run my business as opposed to being in my business. And I still enjoy window cleaning. I don't intend to leave that totally, but I don't want to be, in my 60s.
Well, let me give you a little
up ladders,
You need to. I'm sure your customers love you, and you're probably again one of the best window cleaners to walk the face of the earth. But if you want to take your company to the next step, you're going to have to leave that, because you're going to have to become the CEO, and your day is going to have to be CEO driven, not Gabe the window washer driven.
Right.
Yeah. And I had a good buddy of mine actually that has a HVAC business a few years ago. And he's had it for same thing, about, 15, 20 years, somewhere in that range. And he hit a ceiling. He just couldn't grow. And I said, okay, well, take me through your day. What are you doing? He's like, well, I get the guys going. He's got a couple of crews as well. I get them going. And then I got a job site. I run one of the crews, and I go out there with the crew. And I'm like, so you're telling me that you're actually still working on AC units? Yes. I said, okay, get off the roof, get in the office, hire your replacement for that role, and become the CEO. And ever since then, I think he's probably tripled his top line revenue and probably quintupled his profit. And now he's looking at doing acquisitions of other AC companies and everything else. So, you have to make that transition. Every small business owner does. You have to make the transition from doing the work to being the CEO and driving the machine and driving the business, so that you're a better CEO. Trying to be CEO part-time and doing the work the other part of the time, and then I'm going to do you end up doing less in each category, which, again, is not where you want to be. So yeah,
Well,
make that move. I think it'll serve you well.
Just as an example for today, we had a big job that we did in the morning, and I was going to come back and do some office work. Well, of course, we ran into some problems. So what happens is it runs later. Had to call another crew to come in and take over so I could come back for this interview and do some other office stuff. That's an example that had I been able to have the crews out there, not be myself be out there, of course, now keep in mind, I had some people who were out, so we were a little shorthanded. So this is, kind of abnormal.
Right.
But that's an example where if I was off of the glass and I was focused on my business, that wouldn't have been an issue. I wouldn't be kind of chained to work that had we had enough people, they could have handled it, and I could have dealt with the office stuff, the growing of the business and the things that are necessary. So yeah, no, that's
You're
my
right
goal.
there.
I'm gonna get
Right
there.
in that transition phase, and again, I always tell people, look, no matter what transition period or what position your business is in, whether it's just you and you're doing your business part-time, you got a full-time job, all the way through you're a CEO of a 40,000 employee company. Someone's done everything you've done before already. So never fret with I got a unique situation. No, you don't. Everybody goes through those situations, from solopreneur to CEO of a 40,000 employee company. So awesome to see your transition. I know you've got other things to do. We've been in here a little long, but Gabe's one of those guys, we could go for hours and hours and hours, never stop. So tell us where we can find you. What's your website? What's your Instagram? So people can find you.
Sure. So our website is gswctucson.com. And there you can pretty much connect to us through several different ways. You can see some of our work, and we keep it very streamlined. We don't really have a real cluttered website, but it's going to tell you enough information that you need to know. But you can also
great website. Yep.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate that. And then you can call us anytime. We, like I said, we have an office staff. 520-404-4106 is the number, and we'll get someone to talk with you, help you out if you have any questions. Online, if you just on Facebook, just do a search for Gabe Spotless Window Cleaning, will pop up. And on Instagram, it's Gabe's spotless window cleaning. And it's just kind of stretched out. But again, if you just search Gabe Spotless Window Clean, will pop up as well. But
awesome.
Instagram is really, that's where you get the flavor of the business, because we post on there at least every day, sometimes twice. And you get to see our workers, and you get to see the type of work we do, and just get a good feel for what our values are.
It's been great having you, because you're again, one of the, what you're doing organically with the social media, with your website, with your online reputation, is again what I coach all day long. So anybody that's listening to this, watching this anywhere, really go check out his website, really go check out his social media. For what he's doing with it is again spot on for any small business. And again, there's a lot to learn from exactly how he's doing it. So it's a great example of what to do to get organic traffic. And then maybe me and him, or he and I, speak proper English, he and I should go over how to do advertising, because that's my area of expertise, Facebook ads. So we can talk more about that as well. And then when we circle back with you here in the future, we can say, hey, now we saw all that magic on the organic level. Let's see what you've been doing on that paid traffic, and then really start bringing some information. So, hey, if you guys are enjoy this conversation, please like, subscribe, share. It'll mean a lot to me, mean a lot to Gabe and his business. And again, the more people we can share this stuff with, the more, we can, again, keep those learning curves down. I bet you if Gabe could go back 10 years and watch this video, it would probably be a big explosion, right? So in 1 hour, we've covered a lot of things here that would have changed everything.
All this stuff I learned the hard way.
Right. You learned in an hour. All you had to do was go watch a video like this. You could learn it in an hour. So hopefully that's what happens for some more folks, for you and me taking this hour. Hopefully we can save people a lot of heartache and a lot of heavy lifting, and kind of shorten that learning curve up. So, hey, Gabe, I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure to meet you, sir. Best of luck. And I can't wait to talk to you again.
Yeah. Thanks, Cory. Appreciate the time, man.
Thank you, sir. See you later.
See ya.
Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. See you guys in the next one.